Well, well, well. What's going on, my fellow fart knockers and dillweeds? It's me, Ant Master 5, hanging out with you in the Gen X locker. Where are we? As always, 8 feet underground, somewhere at the base of the Catskill Mountains. Aloha, Mr. Hand. The reason why I quoted the great Jeff Spicoli. Welcome to episode 10, the back to school episode. Oh, back to school. Picture it. 1980. 1986. Picture it, 1986. There I am, sitting on a living room floor in my home of my in the suburban, the populace of Long Island, watching Saturday morning cartoons. It's like late August. Uh, Probably one of my favorite Saturday morning cartoons was Dungeons and Dragons. Oh yeah. And I'm just sitting there and my Nintendo is all queued up because, once, cartoons got a little, and, there was stuff I wasn't into. We were going to play Excite Bike. And then it happens. There's that fucking commercial. There's that fucking son of a bitch bastard. I'm cursing a lot. Back to school commercial. The J.C. Penney and Get Your Kid Hush Puppies and Dockers and Tom McCann. Oh, now I'm dating myself. And come down to Herman's for all of your back to school sporting goods. Did I just say Herman's? I said Herman's. Oh, so yeah, look at it. See Snoopy on there? There's a fly and son of a bitch. That fly just came on camera.
Peanuts mug through October.
I will be rocking the Peanuts mug through October because this is the Halloween mug. And yes, there will be a Halloween episode coming up as well, kids. But back to school, because here we are, Labor Day weekend, and all the fun stops for the kids. Oh God, it was it was it's like when I always thought about it, like back in the day, back in it was like the summer was just a giant weekend. It was like late June was Friday night, and July was just a big Saturday, and August was just a big Sunday, and that first couple of days of September was Monday morning. That was summer, and then it was over in the blink of an eye. What'd you do over summer? I mean, summer camp. I mean, my last episode I talked about road trips with my family, but yeah, it all came crashing down. It all came crashing down, and it left. I Let me tell you what I had. Let me tell you the monkey on my back that I always had. Like, I mean, my mom felt like back to school shopping was a daunting task, but I had an aunt. I won't mention her name. I should, who just relished in the fact that we would go back to school. I mean, and this is definitely probably a Gen X thing. All of us had that family member that was like, "Oh, you're going back to school? Good. Oh, you're going back to school. Good. Go. Ha ha, back to school." Like literally, it was like, and she did it like, man, once August 1st hit, it was like, oh, there's something behind me.
No, I wasn't she.
No, I hit my headphones. It was like open season on Ant Master 5. It's like, you going back to school? Yeah, I know I'm going back to school. You don't have to remind me. I literally was watching Saturday morning cartoons, and suddenly there's that friggin' fly. And suddenly I'm reminded that I have to be taken to two guys. Nobody knows that. The Long Islander Gen Xers knows that. Know that. Uh, I'll name a few. My good friend Audie, he was like, "Did he just say two guys?" Yeah, I said two guys. Two guys was a department store, or what we called back in the day a 5 and 10. Even though Gen Xers, we weren't buying anything for a nickel and a dime in these stores, but I think that just stuck with us, from our parents and from our grandparents. But let me tell you how the back to school scenarios played out for us. Sixth grade was interesting because I went to an elementary school from K to 5, and that was it. Then it ceased. Then we went to like two towns over to the middle school, where I understand, some parts of the United States, they call that junior high. And that was just sixth, seventh, and eighth. And it was a lot of changes, a lot of changes. New school, new building.
So
eh,
I mean, you're broken up, ours wasn't.
Broken up how?
We have the same building for everything.
Oh, all right. I see what you mean. Right. Okay. No, so we left our elementary school and then we went to another town to another building, the middle school. I don't know why I'm being covert oppy and not giving up the name of my middle school, but it was the blank middle school. And sixth grade was, it wasn't as, I'm not, what's the word I'm looking for? It wasn't broken up like it was in high school until seventh grade. So sixth grade, you still had like a general academic type of teacher, and the only other class you went to was science, bits and pieces and weird. You only went to a science class, and then of course you had phys ed, gym, whatever the hell you wanted to call it, and then lunch, which I ate a lot of. But it was oof. It was odd. It was strange because it was like I've been in this building since I was a wee lad of 5, and now we're going into a new building. Why? Why do we have to do this? We fear change. And I always remembered that the mailing of the schedule would come to the house, and it was like, and you'd open it up and, you'd see, what teachers you would have. So sixth grade, you already knew what teacher you had. And the only thing that schedule said was your general academics teacher and then your science teacher and then who you had phys ed. But I never had a school bus. I never owned it. Did you own a school bus? I didn't own a school bus. I didn't get a bus in elementary school because, wasn't it wasn't that far away from the elementary school where I lived. But sixth grade is when I started taking the bus. So that's when I started taking the bus, and that was a new experience all itself. So I mean, it's just like it's just like leading up to just so much just anxiety and panic because it's like now I'm getting on a bus and I'm going to a new school and well I left out that part. Speaking of my old friend Ott, um, we were three, count them, we were three elementary schools and we didn't really know each other from those elementary schools. We were literally one elementary school in one town, one in the next, and one in the next. And the only like times you knew or like conjugated with like other kids from the other elementary schools was probably like religious ed. So like if you went to whatever they called it, we called it religion. I know some places call it Sunday school. And so it's like, okay, so I knew, kids from, the other elementary school. And there were a lot of my Jewish friends that like went to Hebrew school, same thing, because it's like, okay, I already knew him from Temple. It's like, okay, so I think I knew like maybe three three of those kids. So it was, this was weird. Now when the bus picked me up, granted, at least I was still in my old neighborhood, so on the bus ride to the middle school, it was all of the kids I knew. But then when school started, who's that? Who's that? Who are you? Yeah. And then, you made friends and, the year went on without a hitch. And I made a lot of friends. Actually, sixth grade, I made a lot of friends. I made a lot of friends with those pesky Center Street and Searingtown kids. That's nor here nor there. That's kind of like, inside stuff. But, hey, if you need inquiring minds want to know, there you go. But I will say seventh grade, that was the game changer because seventh grade, I mentioned they would mail the schedule. Oh God. Well, seventh grade, there was no more general academic teacher. That's when it all started. You had a math teacher, you had an English teacher, you had a global studies, or was it social studies? But then it was like my mom had history. It's all the same shit. You had that type of teacher, you had that type of teacher. Yeah, oh, now then here comes the foreign language. I took Italian because, my dad is, an Italian immigrant born and raised in Italy. We spoke it in the house a lot. Did I pass? Nope. Nope, didn't pass. I didn't write this shit. I just, knew a lot of curse words and I didn't need to ask the front desk dove vanno because I know where the goddamn bathroom is. Moving right along. So you'd get the schedule mailed to you. And I remember there was like orientation and you went with like, it was never a two-parent thing. I don't know how it was with you guys. It was always just my mom would come with me and she was just like, hey, how long is this going to take? My mom always had another agenda. I got to go make lunch. We got to go make dinner. I got to pick up your sister from the ball. But yeah, it was never a two-parent thing. Not that I would really want my dad sitting in orientation of middle school. What is going on over here? Okay, where's the, where what cafeteria? What are you eating food for? It ain't Tuesday. So then the letter would come in the mail and it would give you, even though you picked it, but it broke down the schematics. I guess I could I guess I could say of like, where you were in the building and where your classes were. Mm. Now, what I will say about that is, it was a multi-level school. So it was like, you had to map yourself out. It's like, all right, it's like, so you had your homeroom and then, you had your first period class, second period class, and you were just scattered all over the place. And they never gave you enough time. They never gave you enough time. I mean, absolute complete spicoli. It was like, what is everybody's, fascination with tardiness and truancy? Well, Mr. Hand, no, you never had enough time. It was like, you had one class at one end of the building, and then it was like, you literally your next class was like in fucking East Hampton. It was like, Jesus Christ, by the time I get down here. But you made do, and like everybody, it was like by the time eighth grade came around, the anxiety of now going into the high school, because that's how my school system was structured. It was K through 5, 6 through 8. I almost said 9 and 10, and then 9 through 12. So it was like, you were hanging out and, just, laying back and relaxing. And, you had your mojo down, everything was as smooth as a baby's ass. You had your routine. That's what I was getting at. And then by the time eighth grade came around, you had your routine. But by the time June of eighth grade came around, you knew that this shit was going to get broken up again because now we were going to high school, which was in a new building in another town. Yeah, it's like psychological warfare. This is what they did to us. When you think of Pink Floyd, The Wall, with like the kids on the conveyor belt getting churned in the grinder. Yeah, holy shit. Now, I guess I've never really. I mean, like you talk with your friends and whatnot. Like
Mentally distressing that.
it is it is mentally disturbing, but it is mentally distressing. It's like, I literally just had it all down. Eighth grade, got my classes down, know where my locker is, everything. And then here comes high school. So I always remember the summer before high school, we used to we used to take road trips to Maine a lot. And my mom had this thing that if I was going to get a new backpack every year, and I was going to get one from, I said Maine. Those were two L's. LL Bean in Freeport, Maine, and they were sturdy backpacks. They were good backpacks. They had a little reflective strip, just in case I was walking around with my backpack at night, I wouldn't get splattered by a Buick. Uh, and we did, we if we took that road trip to Maine in the summertime, then there was also some back to school shopping. Oh, you need a pair of boots. Why? Well, I mean, I live on Long Island. I live on a giant sandbar. Bar. Well, and it was so I always had the Yellow Bean backpack. Trapper Keeper. Hello, Trapper Keeper. I didn't really do the Trapper Keeper a lot. I always had that denim binder, and then it was like, and then you had your dividers for each subject. Red was math. This was the Ant Master 5 conglomerate. Pardon me. Red was math, blue was English, orange. These are the tabs of the dividers. They were little plastic see-through tabs. Orange was science, Green was global studies, history, social studies, whatever you want to call it. English was blue. Math was red. I'm trying to think of what other classes I took that I had to designate a specific color to. But I had the blue binder and we all did it. I mean, come on, let's talk Gen X. We all wrote on our, on the cover of our binder. It was always, bands and whatever teacher, enter teacher's name here, Mr. Kunkel sucks, whatever. We always did that S. Remember the S? You made a line, and you like connected it. What did that mean? I really I wish I just like I wish I could draw it right. I don't have any time, and I could just like put it up. Remember the S? We used to do that stupid S. That was on there, and then you did the Kilroy. Remember the Kilroy? Kilroy, you would like put like on the top of paper. It was the guy where you would see fingers and eyes, and the nose would like come over the fence. Why did we do that?
Puffy creatures.
There were puffy creatures?
Yeah, we used to do the puffy creatures with the little feet.
We didn't have puffy creatures with little feet. Draw one and then I'll put it on here. I'll make a short later in the week. So yeah, the binder and the backpack and everything in your backpack and everything in your locker. And then if you were like me, I put garbage in my locker and I just walked around with my backpack that probably would. This is why I have sciatica at 49. I literally kept all my friggin' textbooks in my backpack and my binder and my locker was just a giant just disposal unit. It was literally it was I don't care what you smell, you furry oaf, get down there. It literally it was it was the trash compactor in Star Wars. I don't know why. I mean, a lot of kids, use their locker. I could count on one hand. Well, we should talk about this. The Gen X locker, the actual photo that I use for the Gen X locker, that blue locker, is actually my wife's locker. It's not?
Yes, that was.
Did you just shake your head no?
No. That was.
Oh, that was your main locker, as opposed to your New Hampshire or Vermont locker? Oh, as in your primary locker.
Signed locker.
You had an assigned locker and then you had other lockers. It must be nice. No, we didn't have that on Long Island.
And some were shared with different people so that I was always near a locker and I didn't have to keep going downstairs to one locker.
So you had a system. I just broke my back and just kept all of my shit in my backpack. Yeah. So that's where the Gen X locker picture came from. That's her actual locker. And then I did the, little graffiti art. Speaking of graffiti, I spent a lot of time in Queens because my parents' restaurant was in Queens, or pizzeria rather. And so, I started to get a fondness for, urban art, graffiti. And I used to know how to tag. So I used to know how to write in that format, technique, whatever. So that would don my binder a lot. People were like, what does that say? And I was like, oh, it says flap. Mm-hmm. What's flap? It's a tag. And like, what the hell is that? Which brings me to the new kid in school. If you were a new kid in school, we've all experienced a new kid in school. We all remember it. You were sitting there. I mean, it usually happened in the beginning of the year because, most parents were like, you know what? We're going to start you in your new school in September. Some parents, and then you'd be sitting there, first day of school, and you know everybody, and it's like, hey, there's Ricky, there's Brian, there's Scott. Hey, who are you? You look different. He's got a weird stare. We all experienced it. We all experienced a new kid, and I don't know. I think it always gave me anxiety because I'd be like, man, I never wanted to be that kid because it was like, shit, you're the new kid. You don't know anybody, and you're, walking around looking at the, where your next class is, and you're like walking down the hall, and it's like, where's the blue wing? Next to the yellow wing. And I always said, I was like, ooh, they're getting bullied. I wasn't a bully. I didn't bully any of the new kids, didn't make fun of any of the new kids, but definitely gave them the stare down, because it was always like, who's the new trout in my trout? Who's the new trout in my pond? And it was, I don't know. I always said to myself, man, it's, did it happen? Yeah, it happened. So in the middle of my junior year, I won't go into the whole thing of how and why it happened, but your hero, your host, Ant Master 5, left his school on Long Island smack in the middle of his junior year of high school. And I mean smack in the middle. It was January. Like, I mean, I started my junior year, 11th grade. 11th grade. I had a year and a half to go. I started my junior year, September. See you in September. You know what? Oh, actually, you know what I wanted to sing for the opening credits was Gotta Go back to school again. What's the next verse? Oh no, I gotta go. Or is it whoa whoa? Um, did they use that? Obviously, it was Grease, but did they use it in the second one as well? They didn't use that back to school again in Grease too. Gonna have to Google that. I'm gonna challenge the producer. I call bullshit. Clock is ticking. We have dead air. So yeah, so there I was. It was January. I mean, it was just, and it was a cold, bleak month. January 1992 is when I left Long Island for good. And it wasn't easy. I mean, from a, it's called the Gen X locker. And, we talk about everything and everything Gen X. And most of us, unfortunately, had that experience. Maybe I should kind of count my blessings that it only happened once. I remember, not even I remember. I mean, I work with people right now that, I tell that to that, were military brats and they were like, you just moved once? Well, I'll trade places with you in a heartbeat. Like, yeah, there were kids that were, here today, gone tomorrow, and different counties, different towns, different states, shit, different countries. It's like I didn't have that. Thank God I didn't have that. But it was detrimental enough to leave Long Island and head, 2 hours plus up north. Because if you look at the topography of the state that I live in, the geographical, topographical, you know what I mean. Long Island is, it's an island. It's sand. It's all flat, but man, once you cross over the Throgs Neck or the Whitestone Bridge and you start going up, into Westchester, and the more north you go, you start seeing it. Well, I don't know what I'm doing. You start seeing the rock formations on, like on the side of the road, and you're like, what's going on? And you can just see the mountains just forming, Purple Mountain Majesty. It wasn't easy. And I don't know what my mom basically gave me the whole rest of the month of January to save face and try to relax because we were trying to register me in school. So come February, February is when I started in my new school. And man, that was, I had my routine down. I had my routine down for, 3.5 years, 9th grade, 10th grade, and a chunk of 11th. Nope. Now here I am. Hold on to 16 as long as, so here I am, 16 years old, new school, new zip code, new county, just, new area code, let alone zip code. And yeah, your host was the new kid, and it sucked. It really sucked. But got to give credit where it's due. Got to give credit where it's due. It didn't last that long. The anxiety and the angst and the depression didn't last that long. I fell into a conglomerate of kids that I dug, the metalheads, because I listen to I listen to heavy metal. And I mean, my defenses were up, my guard was up. So my good friend Eddie, Metal Thrashing Ed of the Realms of Metal, of the Realms of Rock, gonna give him a plug right here. First kid I met and wasn't a dick to me. Was I a dick to him? Probably. And I mean, no pun intended. I was actually the first day of school. I was wearing a Metallica shirt. I was wearing the two pus head. Why am I grabbing my tits? I was wearing the two pus head skulls from the Black album with sad. It was the Sad But True single. And my first class was economics, and I'll never forget it. Eddie was sitting in front of me, and he just turned around. He was like, Metallica, and I'm like, no shit. But alas, everybody made me feel welcome. Met Eddie, met my buddy James, met my buddy Jeff, my buddy Lenny. Did I say James already? I said James. Well, I like James, so I mentioned him twice. My friend Greg, and we all you know, we just fell into the mix. And I admit the new kid in school angst diminished pretty quick. And then, got my learner's permit. Well, no, actually I came up with my learner's permit, but then, got my driver's license. And Eddie and I were the only like two like in the mix of friends. Well, and then what's his name? The dipshit, Vinny, who had the IQ of a box of raisins. He like there was like only the three of us that drove in like the conglomerate of metalheads. So it was like, every morning I'd leave for school, like, the crack of dawn. That was another thing. I was school bus. No, I was 16 and a half, almost 17. Yeah. I think 16 and a half miles from my school. So like from dad's driveway, and then to good old PJHS. Yeah, it was a straight shot up a 2-lane highway, but so I fell into a great routine with that. I admit, go to my friend Jeff's house in the morning, pick him up. Greg was already there. They'd get in my Buick. I had a '78 Buick Skylark. It was just this disastrous boat. And then we'd meet up with Eddie in the student parking lot. We'd all just like listen to metal. And here's the one thing about us that I will say. Out of all of us, we were like I said, we were like 7 or 8 friends. We stuck together. We all graduated, and some of us with honors. We I don't know. It was the weird thing about us. We all we stuck to the curriculum. We weren't like, we looked like burnouts, but we weren't burnouts. We were pretty smart kids. And I like I said, always give credit where it's due and always thanking them for making me feel welcome. And to this day, I'm still friends with everybody from that high school and everybody from my original high school. Well, let me rephrase that. My original high school, I think really honest to God, like Audie and, a handful of, I think back on Long Island, I always say back home because Long Island was home for so many years. Like we were like a mix of like 7 guys and like 7 girls. And I think out of like the guy mix, I think all I really keep in touch with is Audie now. And on and oh, of course, and the Bieber brothers. And I think on the girls' side, I think like Jen and Heather. I think that's it. Those are I think only the 2 people we're hitting the 1 minute mark. But Eddie is still doing his thing. Like I said, always check him out. I always say I'm gonna link something, but I never know how. But you can go to the Instagram and whatnot. I always give him a plug, and he's got a great store, The Realms of Rock at squarespace.com. And you can find some of these fine items, these tapestries, t-shirts, hats. Well, this is a Walmart hat, but what are you gonna do? So that's it for the back to school episode, kids, and being the new kid in school. So were you the new kid? Let me know. You can always email me at the genxlocker@outlook.com. You can always drop a comment, like, and subscribe. I always want to hear from you guys. I always want to, I love to read the comments. Dudettes, fart knockers, dillweeds. But I will say that is horrible of an experience as it was. I was glad I got to talk about it. This was free therapy because it was something that I was always like, oh, sweet Jesus. This just was Krusty the Clown. But I made a lot of good friends and still cherish my old ones. And, the only reason why I thank God for social media, we can actually, keep in touch with each other. Actually, right when I started the episode, see this thing right here? That's called a bridge. And Artie texted me because his kid was having a problem with the bridge on her guitar. And I was like, uh, yeah, I know if I put a finger here and a finger there and I pluck these stringy things, I know it sounds cool. I'm not much of a guitar mechanic. So thanks for joining me. What? Huh? Up next, what happened? Oh, yeah, the Halloween episode is coming up. I mean, I'm kind of, I want to wait till October, even though the whole goddamn house is already decorated in Halloween. Mhm. But I personally would like to wait till October. But with that being said, yeah, that's coming up. And what else? Well, always fun stuff coming up. And like I said, thanks for tuning in. Always be groovy to each other. We don't edit here on the Gen X Locker, so I just gotta move my mouse over here. And oh, and hey, I wish all your kids good luck going back to school and may they be safe and healthy. Amen. So, like I said, no editing on the Gen X Locker. Be groovy to one another. And I'm just gonna go over here and end my meeting. I think this does it. Yeah.